actually been to there. The movie gets me going. That was the first movie I ever tried.
What movie did you cry at?
Titanic at the end. You know,
Oh, yeah.
the little, like, the wooden thing that they had to stay on?
The door?
Yeah, the oar.
The
And
door.
He, like, yeah, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was
Like-
I was playing a story, but that's right.
Take out those articles that we passed out.
I didn't get
I didn't get one either.
Yes, you did.
I got one.
I
by
used
accident.
Miss Pipkin's because I gave mine to
Well, you'll need this because we'll be tested on it. One thing. This is what the assignment was yesterday. And we're going to talk about what Father Dubay, Father Thomas Dubay, his book Faith and Certitude, what he says in this chapter about causes of error. He begins talking about how people can perceive things wrong. At a distance, you say, oh, that's an apple, nice apple on that tree, and you get closer, it's not an apple. You discover it's a plum instead, and what are the reasons? What are the reasons for that? For your speaking, basically. Okay, maybe you jumped the gun, you were too impatient, maybe you wanted to show off. Okay, he just offered a number of reasons, possible reasons why people may kind of jump at conclusions before they can make a rational judgment, a full judgment. Okay? Maybe you should have waited closer and you would have seen it was a plum rather than an apple. Okay? But you were too impatient or you wanted to show off. You know, he offers these reasons at the beginning of this article. And his point was, his analysis is that on page 89, about halfway down, a deeper cause of error, it's right in the middle, okay? Because erroneous judgments are free judgments, this is page 89, okay? The deeper cause of error is in the will. We freely go beyond available evidence, assert what lacks an objective foundation. We do this sometimes, okay? And he goes on in the article to talk about analyzing this a little more deeply. That's the second to the last paragraph on page 89. This realization may be somewhat shocking, for we commonly assume that mistakes are only mistakes, but careful analysis shows that there are more than mistakes. There are aberrations that we should avoid. We should only assert what we have seen and have known. When the evidence is insufficient, our assertion should express a doubt. Otherwise, we have acted untruthfully. We're jumping the gun on things. Yet we must delve still more deeply. If the overextension of judgment beyond evidence is a free act, there must be motives. What are the motives for this? Well, he goes on page 90 to offer, some possible motives. Vanity. We want to appear that we know more than others. Okay, to appear more intelligent or whatever before others. Impatience. I may not have wanted to wait until I got closer. A gossipy superficiality. Sometimes people just talk too much. Sometimes people just talk, and are always expressing their opinions before they think things through. And we should reflect. And St. James in the New Testament says, "Be slow to speak, but quick to hear." Oftentimes it's just the opposite with us. We're too fast to talk and too slow to hear. Sometimes you're in conversation with people. Have you ever been in that conversation where people just keep talking? They want to assert their will. They won't let you say something to respond. Okay? So, laziness could be another, and this is a more complex thing. Okay? He says, many people are ready to pronounce on complex political problems or on moral issues or on religious questions with no least indication of having undergone the strenuous and rigorous discipline of careful research and study. He names contraception. He says it's a blue ribbon example. Many people express, oh, I don't agree with this. Well, have you ever studied the church's reasons for this? And have you ever looked into why all of Christendom, and even before Christ, this was the teaching of the Jews before Jesus, what's the reason for this? When people have never studied it, just rush to a judgment and say, this is my opinion. And you wouldn't do this in the hard sciences. I mean, you wouldn't be talking with someone about physics and just be, shooting from the hip off the cuff, because, especially someone who knew physics would just say, well, you're absolutely wrong. You don't understand physics, you don't understand math, whatever subject. Well, moral issues have rationality as their basis. Our God is a God of reason. God gave us the commandments out of love for us. There are reasons for worshiping only one God, for keeping God's day holy, for honoring parents, so on and so forth. And his point here is that people just are too lazy, maybe, to investigate the reasons for positions on things, and just want to spout off and express their opinion where they're really manifesting their ignorance. That's what I like to say to people in response. If they're saying something that I know is wrong, I just say, well, you're really manifesting your ignorance to me, because you show by your statements you haven't studied the issues. If you did, you would be able to articulate things in a reasonable way to persuade someone. But you're just sticking to your will. I want it my way, and this is how it's going to be, so I won't change. Well, again, Father Dubay is saying, oftentimes the root problem is in the will. Dislike is another, that's top of page 91. One who dislikes the moral virtue of chastity seldom studies sympathetically a defense of it. People who are very promiscuous, so to speak, okay, and are not chaste, well, they don't want to hear arguments of why you should be chaste. They will even ridicule it. And I think it was it in here? I read a lot of things. I don't know if it was in this article where he talked about Mother Teresa at Georgetown. That was this article. Okay. Yeah, Mother Teresa was giving the commencement address at Georgetown. For those of you who may not know what Georgetown is, it's kind of the flagship Catholic college university in the country. It started by the Jesuits, those of the Society of Jesus, way back, not long after the founding of our country. I think it was the first Catholic college in the States. And there's kind of a prestige going to Georgetown. Bill Clinton went to Georgetown. People kind of brag, I went to Georgetown, as if this is a label. Well, she was giving a talk about how people should, chastity is a beautiful thing, and the students are laughing at her, saying this, she has to get real with the modern world. Come on, you can't expect us to be chaste. Well, someone who has a bad will, a malformed will, and is involved in bad relationships, is not going to be as willing to be open to the truth about the teaching of Christ and the Church on chastity as someone who's really striving to lead a good moral life, who recognizes, like the publican who goes into the temple and says, stands in the back with his head bowed and beats his breast and says, "Have mercy on me, not a sinner," versus the Pharisee who goes up and says, "Oh, I tithe, I do everything, aren't I wonderful?" Well, that's why Jesus condemned the scribes and the Pharisees. Okay? The last motive, and I know people who are like this. People embrace an idea for no other reason than they like it. It's relevant. It's in. But everyone thinks this way, so you've got to go with the flow. I always use the example of Mount Sinai. Okay. Moses is on the top of Mount Sinai, and the people are below. After Moses is up there for nearly 40 days, and the people down below are impatient. Okay, where is he? Okay, he's gone. Okay, let's put our gold together, fashion a golden calf, which they were worshiping back in Egypt, by the way. That's why they did that. Okay? And they all started bowing down and worshiping the golden calf and engaging in revelry. You know what that means? That's what the Bible says. They were engaging in revelry. When Moses came down the mountain, they were engaging in revelry. The Bible is always very subtle in making a point. Revelry means they were engaging in pagan sexual practices. In other words, everyone's doing it with everyone else. This was the pagan fertility cults. Okay? So this was a big orgy that was going on. That's what Moses saw when he went down. Besides, in addition to worshiping the golden calf, they're doing this. He's, whoa, throws the commandments down on the ground. Well, when you want to go with the crowd, worship the golden calf, or are you going to think independently and form judgments based upon an investigation of the topics? And I'll just leave this off here for a moment because I want to show you, just read for you part of an address by was I think it was the valedictorian of Thomas Aquinas College. Okay? Thomas Aquinas College is where Mrs. Pitcairn attended college. It is a liberal arts college where their classes are centered around the great books, meaning you read the original sources, Aristotle, Plato, the great minds throughout the ages, even in the areas of geometry. You'll read Euclid, and there are little classroom seminars like this size, and you'll come in, sit around a table, and you discuss topics. What you learn from going through Thomas Aquinas College, and there are some other colleges that are like this, okay? You learn to think rationally and articulate judgments. Pardon me? Yeah, it's a very small college. Okay? It's like Wyoming Catholic College. Does anyone know Joe Frederickson? Yeah. No, I encourage Joe Frederickson to go to Wyoming Catholic College. It's like Thomas Aquinas College. And it's a little different. Stresses the Great Books program, small seminars, classical real education, liberal arts education. But you start out, it's more of a leadership training program throughout the 4 years too. You start out the first 3 weeks on a wilderness adventure. You go out and you backpack, you horseback ride, you learn to fly, fish, you mountain climb, you do all these things, and it's meant to be leadership training. Anyway, the valedictorian address by Felicity Seeley. Nice name, Felicity. That's the same one. She was an ancient saint who was thrown to the lions. Felicity Seeley, class of 2014, she talks about, well, the title of her address is What is Truth? And she says, well, what is truth? John 18:38. Quid est veritas? Who said that? Pontius Pilate to Jesus. Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. What is truth? He's a skeptic. Well, she says, what is truth? There have been many answers. Truth is relative. Whatever an authority says, okay. More recently, skepticism. We can't know the truth. What is it? Socrates said, always be open to the truth. Open your minds, your hearts, keep them open. Don't blindly follow others' leads. Listen to them, ask questions. I read the front page of the Notion paper today. The Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, the Federal Circuit Court, that's 9 circuits throughout the country. That's the appeals court before the Supreme Court. It's in Chicago. And they just ruled that the Wisconsin Constitution, which restricts marriage between a man and a woman, is unconstitutional. No, you can't restrict marriage to just a man and a woman. So they appear to be going along with the flow. I'd like to talk to these judges and give them a piece of my mind, try to convince them. I saw the arguments by the Attorney General of Wisconsin. Very poor arguments. All he said was, well, this is our tradition. And I could have given him better arguments to use before the Seventh Circuit Court. I don't know what faith he practices, but anyway, Felicity Seeley, she goes on to say, searching for truth is also what makes Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas so great, an integrated whole. These authors touch on everything because their idea of truth is one. Every truth they find touches on another until they built a complete understanding of the world. All the sciences, everything, it all fits together. This makes sense that God is the author of nature. God doesn't contradict himself, and nature doesn't disprove him. And she talks about what we've gained through 4 years of this education, the beginning of eternal wisdom. The power of truth is to change us from the inside out, to liberate us from sin and error, from fear, and lead us to eternal happiness, to form us as saints throughout the ages. So, on that note, I'm going to hold up something if someone would like to take a look at these. I just brought a few of them. Okay. There's an organization in this country called the Newman Foundation, N-E-W-M-A-N. John Henry Cardinal Newman was a convert from Anglicanism to the Catholic faith. He reasoned his way into the Catholic faith. He went back to the beginning of the church and he says, no, what the church taught at the beginning.
Eddie, Luz, and Raul Chavez, please come to the main office at the bell. Eddie, Luz, and Raul Chavez, come to the main office at the bell.
Well, the Newman Guide is the Newman Center puts together a guide to the best Catholic colleges that give a great liberal arts education. And there's about 20 or 30 or 28 of them. This is actually the 2012-13 guide. I don't think the new one has changed much, but it's excellent. I'll just leave it here if anyone wants to take a copy and go through it. Okay. Please bring it back. And I'll leave a couple of copies of these as well. This is by the Newman Foundation as well. Just little guidelines on how to know which college is right for you, okay? How to write an essay, keeping your faith on campus, 10 rules for campus dating. What if they have my bridge? Anyway, I'll leave these here too. And if you want to look at them over the weekend or whatever, in fact, if everyone would take one, I have enough to pass out to everyone. I can bring some more if you decide that. So.
Don't they have a Newman Center in Washington?